New Jersey has long been one of the strongest states in the history of Smash Bros, harboring some of the game's most talented players for nearly 20 years now, and Smash Ultimate has been no different. With past and present ranked players like Tweek, Leon, Jakal, and Rivers, the state has consistently had top-level talents. Within the state's huge talent pools, there had been an intense rivalry brewing for years though, a bout of regional pride and recognition. As an outsider, the region can be taken as one collective unit, but bubbling within the state's competitive scene was a rivalry deeper than the surface. A classic clash of North against South. Since the early days of Brawl, North New Jersey has been considered the main hub of the region's competitive scene. Southern New Jersey just didn't have many events, if any at all, in the Melee sequel. Central and North Jersey, on the other hand, were some of the strongest and most active scenes of that era. South Jersey had Mewtwo, of course, the consensus #1 Brawl player in the world for many years, but those accolades were gained at events far beyond the Jersey scene. On the release of Smash 4, though, the competitive scene exploded. Events had more entrants than ever, and the entire New Jersey Smash scene was thriving. South Jersey at this time was comparable in size to North, and both regions had multiple top 50 players. Yet, despite the game's release in 2014, it wasn't until 2016 that we truly saw the two sides of the state connect. Through some friendly banter between their collective scenes, there began a regional rivalry that would eventually burn far brighter than anyone could have initially anticipated. When competitive Smash 4 went on its way and Ultimate hit the shelves, the Southern Jersey scene began to feel an animosity towards their northern counterparts. To say that South Jersey was underrepresented on the PR was an understatement. Southern New Jersey has their own power ranking, but it wasn't until Straw Hat's addition to the July to September of 2019 season that a South Jersey player had made it onto the statewide power ranking for Ultimate. The Southern players in the state felt that the Northern-led PR panel was heavily biased, and they were simply looking for some respect. South Jersey competitors recognized that if they wanted to be serious about making the PR, they were expected to make the multiple-hour trip up to Northern events, and they were punished if they didn't. But the same didn't go for the Northern players. The TOs in the South had to host events with huge pot bonuses to even have a chance of some North Jersey competitors to make it out. In response to this criticism, some of the Northern players mocked South Jersey for their level of skill and blamed them for their own underrepresentation. When South Jersey rebutted, saying that North Jersey players wouldn't give that same courtesy back to them by traveling to their events, the North simply said traveling to their tournaments wasn't worth it. A North Jersey competitor, Jack, even dropped a South Jersey diss track.
Who knew the redemption bracket PR would have us foaming at the mouth? Who knew we took our garbage, packed it, and sent it down south? Who knew I would record the flames to burn this dump? Who knew I would chop off the half that's not vital, turn it into a stump? Who knew our state's a little suicidal? He's gonna jump.
Members of the state PR panel even suggested that South Jersey players try and make it on the neighboring Philadelphia PR due to shorter distance to and from their events. And they did. Longtime competitors like Spiro, Andromeda, and Skies were all South Jersey residents that were able to make the Philadelphia PR at one point in time. After nearly 5 years of disrespect and being pushed down, the time had finally come. With the help of the Sector X TOs, a 6v6 crew battle between North and South Jersey was set to take place at Battle Over the Bridge 100. Within Southern Jersey borders, North New Jersey was going to have to be the invader this time around. And while some of their strongest players like Leon and Rivers weren't in attendance, the lineups were stocked full of the best talent from each side of the state. North Jersey's lineup was headed by the state's second best player and number 45 on the 2023 Lumi rank, Jakal. Paired with him is another top 150 competitor and top-level Steve in Syrup. And rounding out the team was one of the US's best Yoshis and top 5 in the state in Pharaoh, and 3 current or formerly ranked players in BD Bean, Haze, and Lemon Tea. On South Jersey's side, they have the undisputed best player in the crew battle, number 5 in the world, Tweek. After Tweek, though, the roster was kind of lacking compared to the North's. They had 3 players, AK Fires, Vince, and Boost, who had all been ranked statewide in the past, and the roster was rounded off with the current number 5 in South Jersey, Noodle, as well as the number 4, Houdini, who was substituting for South Jersey's original 6-man, Bryce. The crew battle begins with North Jersey starting their second strongest player and one of the best Steves in the world, Syrup. South Jersey, on the other hand, opened with the aforementioned substitute Houdini, a Yoshi main. Houdini was expected to be, honestly, a non-factor in the crew battle, but he opened up confidently against Syrup. With an explosive start, Houdini gave South Jersey the spark they needed to start this crew battle off, taking the first stock of the game with a forward air spike. Syrup buckled up, and in classic Steve fashion, he took a bit of momentum and began to snowball. After nearly taking Houdini's last stock with 2 on the board, he unfortunately self-destructed on a recovery attempt. Syrup ultimately respawned and closed out the game with 1 stock remaining, but in the context of a crew battle, this is huge. In a crew battle format, you reset after every game, so if you were at 200% the game before, but managed to keep your stock, you'll go back to 0 to start the next one. For South Jersey, being able to get 2 stocks off of Syrup with their sub put them in a favorable position regardless of the counterpick advantage. South Jersey next sent in AK Fires, a Shulk main turned Steve who has recently gone back to his roots in playing one of Ultimate's most underrated characters. For this crew battle though, he decided to hit Syrup with the Steve Ditto, which didn't start out that well for him. He lost his first stock without getting much on the board against Syrup, then nearly SD'd immediately on his second stock. Fire started to get back into the flow of playing Steve, and in a display of pure Smash fundamentals, AK Fires was able to strike back and secure the build battle over Syrup. Still up a stock though, North Jersey had a lot of freedom in who they sent in next. Confident in his ability against Steve, Pharaoh, New Jersey's best Yoshi, was going to get revenge for what Houdini had done before. It was an absolute bloodbath against AK Fires. The South Jersey competitor barely got to play the game against Pharaoh, and 1 minute in, he sealed out both of his stocks, putting the North up by an entire player. South Jersey ultimately sent in one of their strongest players behind Tweek in Boost to keep Pharaoh from potentially doing any more damage to their team. Boosk and Pharaoh have an even 6-6 record against each other offline, but Boosk would admit himself he hasn't played the game in the same way he did in his prime. As many of us may know, unlike the kids that get to fill in coloring books for 10th grade chemistry while farming PR wins with Steve, Boosk works a grown man job, recently became a husband and father, and started playing Corrin over Rob just to make his life even more challenging. Pharaoh has capitalized on this rare opportunity of his opponent having a job, kid, and wife by 2-0ing the Corrin in their previous 3 encounters. Armed with the memory of these losses as well as a new mouth to feed, Boosk opted for the Rob this time around against the Yoshi, and the two had an absolute battle. In one of the most pivotal games of the entire crew battle, Boosk ended up slipping away with the lead and closed out the game with 1 stock, shrinking South Jersey's deficit to 2. Hayes was up next for North Jersey. The Diddy Kong opened up looking like he was going to go flawless against the Rob with his devastating punish game, but Boosk knew he needed to get at least a single stock on the board for his team. He locked in and secured a kill on Hayes with a ledge trap sequence. Hayes came back down and immediately answered back, sealing out the Rob stock, leaving North Jersey up 11-9. The 4-stock performance out of Boosk hailed him as the South's MVP, but not for long, as that would quickly change. South Jersey had a difficult choice to make next. They could send in Tweek, but down a player already and matched into a character Ditto, they wouldn't want to risk putting in their anchor immediately. They also had Vince, a Roy player who might have lacked some experience against high-level players in an unforgiving matchup. South Jersey didn't go with either of them though, and ended up deciding on their wild card, the only player using a character ranked outside of the top 25, a hometown hero that twisted the fate of this forsaken crew battle in a direction that might surprise you.
Shouts to Noodle. He's probably the coolest DK player I've ever seen in Ultimate. He did crazy stuff. He plays really fast, really creative, but he still does like what needs to be done to win. He's one of my new favorite players, like in general.
And cooler than your Donkey Kong.
It definitely is.
Noodle, New Jersey's best Donkey Kong main, hasn't built his reputation off upsets at majors or farming Twitter likes. Instead, he's just been a pillar of his region's community. He helps TO, supports his locals, and even has been the catalyst of a huge meme. But he's not the average Joe clocking a 9-5 by any means. Noodle has been a consistent top 5 PR player within South Jersey for years, and his commitment to his unique style of Donkey Kong has resulted in multiple state PR wins and some admittedly disgusting clips. Noodle hasn't seen much success traveling to majors, and he doesn't have a bunch of wins against high-level out-of-state players, but a big factor to that is that he just doesn't go out of region all that much. Coming into the crew battle, he wasn't expected to take more than a couple stocks. Noodle had, however, seen years of underestimation, the jabs on Twitter, the demeaning words used to label his home region, and what we were about to see? I don't think anyone would have been ready for that. In the Battle of the Kongs, Hayes started off hot, but once Noodle began to warm up and figure out his rhythm, he managed to take the first stock of the game. Hayes clapped back, found a kill, and once again began to run over Noodle, abusing DK's abysmal options to get out of juggle and ledge trapping situations. Hayes bet it all in an attempt to close out this sequence and missed, launching him back onto the stage. Noodle, reading a tech roll in, went for a max rage down B to up smash conversion off the ledge and closed out the game with 2 stocks on the board. This was absolutely massive for South Jersey. The next game against BD Bean was one of Noodle's best matchups coming into the crew battle. BD Bean did take their last encounter 2-0, but Noodle had been able to beat him on 2 separate occasions beforehand. BD Bean started off this game with a lead, over doubling Noodle's percentage, but DK with max rage is a scary sight to see, especially against a character that can struggle to kill. At 61%, Noodle found a grab and hit a signature ding dong confirm on BD Bean, taking his stock with 139% on the board. BD just couldn't seem to find a way to kill Noodle, and Noodle took full advantage. In the biggest moment of the crew battle, Noodle was able to flawlessly take all 3 of BD Bean's stocks and swung the lead into South Jersey's favor for the first time in the crew battle. North Jersey, with only 2 players remaining, decided to save their star player and anchor and instead send in the other Wolf main, Lemon Tea. While it had been close to 2 years since they faced each other, Noodle had taken their last encounter against the Wolf in bracket, and actually eliminated them later in the main bracket. This fact coupled with the performance against BD Bean, and you could tell Noodle's confidence was an almost visible aura. We were truly watching some of the most solid DK gameplay Smash Ultimate had ever seen. Lemon Tea fared off better than BD Bean did, but in the end his efforts were in vain. Noodle had the Ding Dong conversions on lock, securing Lemon Tea's first stock at a measly 98%. The momentum might have been building, but Noodle was completely in the zone. Lemon Tea is no slouch, but even the world's top-ranked players might have been susceptible to this level of mix. The Wolf did eventually secure a stock off of Noodle, but now with a fresh one and more importantly unstalled moves, Noodle went right in for a grab, pulled off another Ding Dong, and secured the game.
Let's go. Yeah.
Now, this performance so far was enough to secure Noodle as easily the MVP of the crew battle, bludgeoning the New Jersey team at its weak spot for an insane total of 7 stocks taken. South Jersey was now in an amazing position, but the job wasn't quite finished. Jakal was the last man standing, and runs like his second place at Crown III showed that he could make the seemingly impossible a reality. Standing before Jakal was Noodle's last stock, followed by 3 stocks each from Vince's Roy and Tweek's Diddy Kong. Noodle's run was admirable, but it had to end here. Jakal closed this one out quickly, only taking 29%. South Jersey decided to follow the North strategy and save their strongest competitor for last as well, and in turn sent out Vince.
Who's Vince?
This Roy main has been one of South Jersey's top players since the release of Ultimate, and had a history of upsetting some of the North's best players, even beating Rivers, and more notably Jakal back in 2019. Vince hadn't had a chance to play either in over 4 years, so he had something to prove here. It was a solid start to open up the game. He was going practically even and neutral, both players using their huge non-committal hitboxes to poke one another. This is the style of play that Jakal tends to lean towards. Vince, though, unfazed, ended up taking the first stock of this game. But once Jakal evened the stock count back up, he began a sequence that had the first stock looking like an absolute fluke.
That could be a stock.
Jakal's switches are so good right now.
Here we go. Up. Oh, great damage, one could say. There we go.
I do not know how that second F tilt worked. That was a regrab.
Vince came back for his turn and put Jakal through his own version of the blender, eventually finding an up air conversion to make it 1 stock apiece. In the midst of a potential comeback though, Jakal found a 2-frame F-tilt to close out the game and stay alive for just a bit longer. With an all-time great performance from Noodle and an incredibly clutch 2 stocks from Vince, the underdog South Jersey team was 1 red spark away from defending their home turf and overcoming their adversaries, finally earning the respect they've always deserved. But a cornered beast is always the scariest, and Jakal's last stock would undoubtedly be the hardest to get through. Or at least it would have been, if not for the final boss entering the ring. The United States' best player and the current number 5 in the world, Luminosity's very own Tweek, plugged his controller in with the intent of closing this thing out quick, fast, and in a hurry. These two have actually had a long history, both competing in New Jersey since Smash 4. Tweek has always had the upper hand in their matchups, but Jakal wasn't unfamiliar with slaying this titan of Ultimate. In this current position, Jakal was going to have a huge mountain to climb if he wanted to bring home this crew battle for North Jersey. Tweek opened up Jakal right away with a frame trap into another conversion, racking up over 60%. An impressive combo from Jakal put him back in the lead, but with close to 75% on his final stock and Tweek still holding on to all 3 of his, he needed a miracle. Rather than the back and forth scrapping he was being subjected to earlier in the game, Tweek slowed down the tempo. Switching to a banana-heavy playstyle, Jakal was now forced to try and make something happen. He got caught running into Tweek and was subject to one of Diddy's deadly ledge traps. After attempting a jump air dodge to get through Tweek's setup, Jakal was met with a lightning-fast frame 5 up smash, ultimately securing the crew battle for Team South Jersey. After years of disrespect, years of underrepresentation, years of being told that they weren't good enough, South Jersey proved that they had an uncrushable spirit. To further solidify the victory, Tweek made it to grand finals of the singles bracket with a sweet losers run and even ended up defeating Jakal twice to do so, seeding South Jersey as the unanimous Battle Over the Bridge 100 champions. And I already know what you're thinking. South Jersey had Tweek. But in the end, tally up the scores and you'll see that Tweek only took 1 total stock for his team. We can talk about the hypotheticals all day. Both sides were missing some of their best players, but in the end, while you might have an army, South Jersey has a Noodle. And do you really need anything more?
Saved game 3, DK versus... Oh, he switched characters.
DK, BK.
Joker.
DK, are you going to eat BK when you win this? Burger King, Donkey Kong eating Burger King, BK. He's eating unlimited burgers. after he wins BK. DK's eating BK when he wins this. Joker. Donkey Kong is versus Joker. Are you gonna unleash the demon route?
Oof, my goodness. Oh,
GG's. Donkey Kong got
Vince is shuffling in his seat. He's got to get his head in the game.
Who does?
Vince?
Who's Vince?
Hey, this has been Turned Down for Walt. Thank you so much for watching, and I really hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you guys like this video and aren't subscribed to the channel, I'd really appreciate it if you did. We're on our way to 80,000 subscribers right now, and I really would like to hit that 100K mark soon, so help a guy out. Thanks as always to our top tier patrons Avishua Stein, Bobby Wasabi, Dorian, Eric is Cool, Juniper, NNG Esports, Storm, and Tingly Jungle for supporting the channel as always. Link in the description for my Patreon if you guys want to support in that way. And go click one of these videos now. Thanks again for watching, guys. We'll see you next time.